This time on Burnouts and Rotor Blades, we're going to fix the notorious Gov Lock rear end. Welcome to the Burnouts and Rotor Blades YouTube channel. Let's go do something awesome. Alright, so this time on Burnouts and Rotor Blades, we're going to take the 7.5 inch Gov Lock rear end that's in the Chevy Vega, and we're going to try to make it somewhat decent. This is your standard Gov Lock setup. You know it's a Gov Lock if it has all this shenanigans going on. The Gov Lock rear end had a couple of really neat features that made it awesome for the stock vehicles that it went into, but now kind of work against us in, you know, this aftermarket application where I want to do burnouts. The two features that it has are, one, the clutch engagement feature, and two, another clutch disengagement feature. The clutch engagement feature is a spinning piece that has two flyweights on it that come apart at a certain RPM. Now the job of these flyweights is, if this is stationary or moving at a constant speed and you have a difference of speed from one side to the other, it spins this little guy right here. Some of the things that I've read online say somewhere between 100 and 200 RPM, and I tried to test that so that I could get a baseline for whenever I was making modifications to this rear end. I left one brake rotor and caliper installed on one side of the rear end, and then I removed all that stuff for the other side so that it rotated freely. And I used a drill to power around that side of the axle to see if I could get that 200 RPM or 100 RPM difference. Weirdly, I could only get it up to about 75 RPM difference from one side to the other. I did it a whole bunch of different ways trying to capture what the RPM was. The problem is that I ended up burning through 3 different drills. Just killed that drill. Tried to borrow a neighbor's drill after mine let the smoke out, and it was a cheap Harbor Freight one, and it started smoking pretty much right away as well, so we just went ahead and called it off on that. What I came up with was about 75 RPM.
Oh, I thought you were talking to a man.
Nope, I'm talking to everybody on YouTube.
But I thought you were talking to a man that's in your garage.
Oh, a man that's in my garage?
Yeah, because you're talking to them.
Okay. Now the other feature that the Gov Lock has is a disengagement feature, and there's a big flyweight kind of towards the outside of the barrel if you're looking at the rear end from the side. And whenever you reach over 20 miles an hour, the weight on this flyweight right here forces this part to come out. So when this part comes out like that, it moves this little paw that's down in here to where these flyweights can't reach it to lock in. The problem is, it takes quite a bit of RPM to get these to come out. I want to be able to just barely move one side of these and have that flyweight come out. You can see that right there should be enough to get you in and out of a parking spot, and that's all I want. What it requires though is quite a bit more, and that's what I don't want. Essentially, the if-then statement of this mechanical rear end goes, if one side of the rear end is spinning at 100 RPM more than the other side, then it will engage a clutch set to lock up the two sides of the rear end, transferring power to the side with traction. The other if-then statement is, if the rear end is accelerated past 20 miles per hour, then it will release that lock setup and no longer allow it to re-engage. For what I want to do with this car, that's not going to work. So what we need to do is get rid of that second if-then statement so that it allows it to lock up over 20 miles an hour, and modify that first if-then statement so that we can get it to lock up below that 100 RPM range. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some weights to those small flyweights that control the RPM difference from one side to the other by welding some more material right inside of here, and then we're going to file it smooth as much as we can. problem is I couldn't get a drill to go down far enough to get even one full rotation in after I did the modification. My cordless drill would previously go down to like 15 RPM, but even that wasn't enough. So just flinging it around by hand after I did the modification, I get about a quarter of a turn before those flyweights come out and grab hold of that pawl. The biggest question that you're probably wondering right now is why not just weld the rear end up? And the answer to that question is I want to be able to use this car whenever I drive, let's say, to the grocery store or just am parking in a parking lot. I don't want to be blowing axles up in it all the time or having it hopping around every time I make a corner. Driving around a car that has a welded rear end is cool if you're, you know, like just in high school and you have a 240 SX, because that's what I did. But it's not cool if you actually want to drive your car and enjoy it, with the tire always chirping and it always fighting you in turns and pushing through corners and all that kind of stuff. I want this car to like retain some day-to-day usability, and having a welded rear end or a lunchbox locker or just a spool or any of those things is really kind of a drag racing only application and not really friendly for the type of road racing or, you know, just normal day-to-day use that I want to do with this car. Now there's a couple different ways that you could go about doing the modification to this lower one of which involves removing the differential. Hack that thing off right here. I'm going to choose to do it the way where we're going to leave everything in the car and do it. We're going to weld a piece right here that holds this weight from swinging out. Bad weld, you might as well have a whole bunch of them. Thank you, mister. Let's go check and see if it turns into a parking spot. My faith is low. But yeah, I truly believe that a guy could really nail this down.
With weights.
Yeah, with if we figured out what the stock ones weighed and then figured out what the
like
other
a number,
ones weighed.
like a number 10 washer.
Yes.
You know, with a center weld only, or yeah, whatever.
Oh, look.
Oh,
I pulled into
perfect.
a parking spot.
Yeah.
Like, that's legit. Speed drift. That was legit!
Dude, it goes in so nice.
And it just like held it.
Yeah.
And, oh my god, you need to drive this thing because the steering feel, like how it wanted to self-steer back to straight.
Oh, I bet.
From the caster that I put
bet.
into it.
Right,
oh
right.
man, it was perfect. Just instantly.
That was perfect. That.
Yeah, so I just, you know, just stab at it with some weld and fill up that first little groove and see, but it locks up super easy in reverse.
That was really impressive. It's very, very controlled. It's very, very controlled.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I could put this right up to the curb, and then my hand slipped off the steering wheel.
Yep, I saw it.
All right.
I think you got some.
I think I blew the tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
If you lay it straight, you can look even higher.
Looks fine.
The wheel's pretty straight too. You didn't even...
That little bit.
Look at them.
Yeah. So that's definitely the downside with all the caster. It was
That
locked.
last, you had a foot to go before you hit and you locked.
Well, oh, I think whenever it went on to the
It flew off of the asphalt. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, so I lost grip, and then that concrete is freaking slick. So, well, that's just driver error is all that is. I was in the middle of saying it's so controllable I can bring it right up to the curb, and then I was wrong. Don't forget to subscribe if you like the content and want to see more like it. And as always, thanks for watching.
Fan blade. We gotta go home. You caught a fan blade. We gotta go home.
I caught a fan blade?
Yeah, fan blade caught the radiator. You're leaking.
All right, we want to see the carnage right there. That is, yeah, that is some impressive carnage. So whenever you have completely destroyed motor mounts, you shouldn't be out doing burnouts and trying to test out how well your rear end locks with your mechanical fan setup. It obviously didn't work out well. So yeah, all the flex.
All the flex.
Yay! So yeah, it looks like electric fans.